Welcome, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Roots and Wings. I am Jennifer He, a fractional chief marketing officer for emerging brands. I
Hi,
have
everybody.
the
Oh, sorry. Yeah. As I cut her off here at the end, this is the unedited version. My name is David Solomon. I'm a fractional chief revenue officer working with B2B organizations as they scale into their first new market.
So, David, we talked about new market expansion last time. Um, when a brand or business enter into a new market, the first thing they're after is revenue. Being a fractional chief revenue officer, I know you are responsible for sales for a lot of organizations. What is the first step that they need to think about? Before they establish a sales team.
Well,
And
the
what
first,
have you seen?
yeah, well, the first thing I really want everybody to understand is that yes, international markets is about new revenue. Yes, but there's a mindset that's really critical, and we touched on it in the last podcast, and I'm going to want to bring it up again. Revenue is important, yes, but you're looking for greater profitability. You're looking for scalability. You're looking for opportunity to diversify what you're currently doing, economies of scale. Once you have that, now your mindset inside your organization has to pivot. And this is where the transformation has to come. So first step is to look around the table first of all at yourself as the CEO, as the business owner. Am I ready to do this? Can I transition? Can I pivot? This is why it's so crucial to build it right, is that it starts with the business owner or the CEO, the founder, the visionary. Make sure that you have a team around you that works from there, because it starts at the top. From there, it's to discover that new client base, that, like I just said, diversifying the revenue streams, just getting more profitability, capitalizing on international, the demand that's out there, and then create the systems internally, build the teams internally that'll bring you and take you to the top. If you try to do it the other way around, it's not going to work. It's not going to be as scalable. It's not going to be as powerful. So it must start at the top of the organization with the leader, and then work its way down the organization from you to the team to the market that you want to conquer, and then finally creating the systems, the sales force, the opportunities to grow.
So, David, let me clarify this. When you say it's not going to work with the other way around, what is the other way?
So what a lot of organizations want to do is to say, okay, go build a sales team, and then we'll figure it out. No, 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 no. You can't ask your sales team to go into a new market without understanding the new market, the vision of what you want from that new market, and from the leadership, what are the expectations? What a lot of organizations do is to say, I don't know, so therefore, let's see what sales comes up with. Now you've exhausted resources, money, time, and focus is lost. And so it's really critical that the end game, the goals of what this new market is going to be about, has to be set up at the top by the owner, the CEO, the visionary, the founder, whatever it is you want to call this individual. Because at the end of the day, what if sales comes in and doubles your sales? Oh no, what are you going to do? Or worse, there's only a 5% growth. Oh no, what are you going to do? So really, if you can't ask the sales team to set up all the systems and the planning and the vision, it's not their role. Their role is to execute. So if the business owner starts it, surrounds this individual with the right leadership from all the different departments, I've said in the previous podcast, then discover what is the right market that will achieve the goal set by the team, and then let sales go and have fun.
I'm thinking like it needs to be a collaboration, right? Because I'm gonna be a little bit controversial this time because you were saying
Whoa.
so you were saying top down should be the way to go. But as
I'm,
an innovator, I was like bottom up can be can work as well. No?
it can. I'm not suggesting that it's never possible, but as the business owner, let's put it this way.
Yeah.
If this is my first time, right? And most organizations do not have international sales expertise.
Mm,
So what you're saying to the sales team is go figure it out. That's dangerous
mm,
because what if they make a mistake? What if the wrong message is delivered? What if, oh no, this is not the right market I want to drive at?
mm,
I'm not saying that sales should not be involved or not be part of the strategy team. The opposite. Sales, the head of sales should be part of the strategy team,
mm,
helping to devise the right market and the right entry.
mm,
But if I want to choose market A or choose market B and the founder doesn't like the market that I choose, what have I wasted? So you're right. The collaboration has to be there. Guidance has to be there. I'm not saying it has to be 100% top down,
mm,
but if the owner of the organization is looking internationally and saying, yes, I want to grow, how does he want or how does she want the team to know what the expectations are? Do we want to grow by 25%, 50%, 100%, 500%? It's the owner that will dictate really what they want as opposed to leaving it to the sales team to determine that. It's a collaboration, yes,
yeah.
but we
So
can't depend on them.
I have this leads to another question I have. So you were saying the owner, the leader or the founder, whomever we call that person, um, sets the vision, right? And
Correct.
sets the vision and help the sales function build a foundation and later on scale that foundation, meaning like systemize that process. Okay, so before we do that, let's clarify another thing. So the leader or the founder, what if this leader and founder does not understand the not like he understands, but is not well versed in the culture of this new market? How
Well,
does he
yeah.
coach that sales team?
Look, I'll tell you the when you're looking at the business owner and saying they're not familiar with the new market,
The
the sales,
environment.
yeah,
Yeah.
the environment, the sales team is also likely not going to know what the new environment is. So the inherent danger is before a sales team goes into a new market and then hurts the reputation of the organization, really cramps up the new market entry. It's all, I keep going back to research. It's about research, research, research. You bring in someone like yourself, like me, to help, to guide, to learn, because you don't have international sales expertise and you've never really sold outside of your home market and you're not sure about what the buyer's behavior is going to be, compliance, regulations, culture, values. It could be so radically different, or it could be minimally different, but still, there's enough of a difference where one little mistake could hurt you long term. So, having the understanding in advance of all this is critical. You need to research it. And if you can't do it, bring someone in to help you, to guide you. Consultants aren't there to suck up cash. They're there to help you to build your organization to a whole new heights. So whether it's a fractional chief marketing officer who creates who does the research and goes, oh no, this is how we have to communicate to market B different than communicate to market A. That's important to know. And then for the sales team to understand that when they make a presentation, that the sales cycle might take a little longer. It might be a little bit shorter. It might be a different buyer. You have to understand this before you walk in.
Mm.
Information is key. Otherwise, oh boy, it could be very damaging.
Um, so another question I have is, you go into a new market. Do you hire local? What is the recruiting criteria? Uh,
Well, that depends. Okay, and the truth of the matter is, this is a very, very important question that will be answered by the research. Do I hire local or do I bring my team in? And that's where you need to analyze your team. One is, can a small team juggle multiple markets at the same time?
Mm.
It's hard. Depends on what you sell. If I'm very hyper local, the answer is going to be no. But if I'm selling airplanes, and I'm using that as an extreme, or scoreboards, as I had a very funny conversation with somebody the other day, these are different. So you don't have many clients in your local market, so which means you could, in theory, handle more clients in other markets. It just depends on what you're selling. Ideally, when you go into a new market, you want to bring in somebody new. However, if you don't have a playbook, if you don't understand the market, and if you don't understand the nuances, the competition, the frequently asked questions, the objections, and all that, hiring somebody local or using your own team, you might end up with the same problem. So before I hire, understand. Try yourself. I would almost say that the head of sales should go in and try to test a little bit of the market to see what it's like, to kind of get a feel. Does it make sense? But there's also a budget, Jennifer. Do I hire a local individual, which is going to cost me X, and what's my ROI? And this goes back to the beginning. If I'm planning and I understand and I have everything in place and I have the right cash flow and I'm ready to invest properly, maybe. But if I'm going to wing it, it'll never be successful. So my suggestion is the research will really dictate, and the go-to-market plan will dictate: hire local, use your own team. Depends on what you sell, depends on how well you know the market. There are so many factors, and that's why bringing in someone like you and me makes a lot of sense. And again, this is not about selling our services in this podcast, ladies and gentlemen. It's really to understand why there's so many variables that could make or break this move.
So what you're saying is companies need to build a sales foundation, right, before they scale up their sales process or sales team.
Without a shadow of a doubt. And if you're not solid at home, you're not going to be solid in the new market. I mean, one of the mistakes that people make, and we didn't discuss this, is I'm not going to fix my home market problems by going into a new market. Let's be real. Let's understand that. And when you go into a new market, one of the questions that's going to be asked for sure is, so prove it to me that you've done this. How do we know that you've done this? And those testimonials, the social proof, whatever you want to call it. And Jennifer, this is where you're an expert in it. If I can't bring that social proof, that testimonial with me saying, yeah, I've done it, and here's how I've done it, with whom, and very similar to you, who's going to say yes? So your home market must be somewhat solid. I'm not saying you're selling 100% of the market. No one has 100% market share. But if you don't have a solid foundation in your current market, new market's not going to solve the problem.
So David, let me ask you this. What does the foundation look like? So if the business owner say, okay, I'm going to build the sales foundation to enter a new market, what do I need to do?
Well, for starters, I want to it goes back to what we said in so many of our podcasts. Let's understand what is the pain point we're solving. I mean, I know I'm repeating myself, but this is so important. Please understand. Yeah. Wash, rinse, repeat.
What problem are you solving for whom?
What problem are you solving for whom? And with what is your unique solution? Because because when you're doing the market research, that foundation you're taking to the new market, and you're saying, can I replicate this? Can I make this better? Will it be worse here? What am I up against? Which is why I tell people sometimes going into a bigger market doesn't mean it's a better market. Sometimes a smaller market is better and it'll give you more and this and that. But so for me, it's really about, number one, do I have a solid foundation at home with what I'm selling, to whom, and why? Have I trained? Is the team well trained?
Yeah.
Is everybody on the same page? Do we understand each other? Do we have internal systems? And this is the other thing, that from sales to operations to customer service to finance to the business owner, is everybody on the same page? That's foundation. So it's not just a sales foundation, but an organizational foundation. So that means when I'm ready to hire, I know exactly the individual I want. I know exactly the kind of people that I will want for my organization. If I need to go and get financing, I know why I need financing, because I've budgeted, I've understood where it's going to go. I know what systems I got to put in place. Now, very important, there are other processes. For example, do I have the right CRM in place? Is everybody reading the CRM that's supposed to read what's in my customer, retention management software? Am I understanding what my top 20, 25 customers want? Once you have that foundation in place, wow, that scalability is going to be phenomenal. If you are expecting new market to fix what you're currently doing, as I said, in the home market, with all this, it's not going to happen.
So what you're saying is, it's worth spending time at the very beginning than, not figure out, but build a system, and later on you can repeat that system. We say process over genius, right?
Yeah,
So you
that's
just
right.
repeat it. Mhm.
And I think that what you said, process over genius, is really important. And write out the processes and have it well documented and understood by everybody, because whoever comes into your organization who's new and you say, here's how we do everything, wow, like they'll embrace it and it'll work really better. And I know we're talking at a very high level organizationally, but I don't care where you are. Anybody who comes into your organization in sales, customer service, operations, finance, HR, marketing, you name it, everybody talks the talk and walks the walk. That's what you want from you within your organization. So understanding that foundational point, which we talked about, what's the pain point, how are we different, and who we do it for, that leads to so much. And so you can always build properly on top of it. The last thing you want from any home is a bad foundation, because something's likely to fall apart. This is what we're doing with a business. Build the right foundation. And then when you want to scale it and you want to bring in new systems, it makes a lot of sense. When you want to automate, it'll make really a lot of sense, because you've got that right foundation in place.
Yeah. So basically, start from value proposition. Once that value proposition works, and then you can build sales and marketing.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. 100%. And sorry, go ahead.
No, I said, what we've seen, because we know both of us, we repeat this so many times. Value proposition, value proposition, what problem are you solving for whom? Is because we've seen it so many times. People don't have a specific value proposition built, and they go out and, basically they're not going to attract leads, because you don't have an offer that works. And there's no point of doing sales and marketing.
Well, look, I tell this to a lot of people. Look, at the end of the day, I could put up the greatest thing on the shelf. I mean, and I know you work much more often in retail, Jennifer, but I could put the greatest thing on the shelf. If nobody wants it, it's going to sit there and gather dust.
Yeah.
B2B is the same thing. I could have the best product in the world. I've got the greatest technology, the best R&D. It's amazing. But if I can't figure out if there's no problem to solve with it,
Mm-hmm.
it's meaningless. And if you look at in history, how many times have we heard of, wow, we used to have that, or that technology existed, or we did this and it just didn't go, or it was great, but it was too early. It was before its time. And because don't come up with a solution and then create a problem. Your product or service must address an existing problem, or a problem that a client doesn't realize that they have, that you can help them to understand that they have. Once you do that, that's great. In retail, we could say it's a simpler process, but even at the end of the day, Jennifer, and my son is also now working in the fashion and all that stuff, and goes, the problem we solve every single day is someone walks in going, I need this. I have a problem.
Mm.
Do I have the right solution? Does what am I offering here in my store provide them with the solution? And that's why they keep coming back.
Mm.
Are your customers doing the same thing for you? Are your
So
customers coming back to you
yeah,
all the time?
yeah. Um, Now let's cut the chase because we know there's a problem because I've seen it as well. There's no clear value proposition. If you don't know how to nail your value proposition, come to us. We have tools and we have we know that we have the how to help you find that. Don't waste your time and trying be stuck over there because without this value proposition your sales and marketing won't work. Then once you figure that out, figure what your offer is, and you then let's build the sales process and
The one,
process,
the
right?
one thing that the one thing that I'm very much, and this is why some customers, our clients, I've told them you're not ready. It's because I've been, and I'm sure you're doing the same thing, Jennifer. Is I'm challenging their processes. I'm challenging their beliefs. I'm challenging not because I'm some S disturber here. It's because I'm asking, because when you're ready to jump into market number two, now there's a big investment that could be made. And why would you want to burn so much
Mm.
because you think you have it? No, let's validate it. So for me, when you define before I define my ideal international client, which is very important in your framework, who is my ideal customer today? What is the buyer personas? And that's something, Jennifer, I know you work very hard on is, who are the people who are buying from you and why? There could be multiple personas. There could be multiple people. In retail, I know there are so many different possible people who will come into retail. In B2B, you could have also different buyer personas, but you can also have decision makers, influencers, and users. And you may have to speak to all three of these people before you get to a sale. I have a dear friend who's involved in a very complex engineering testing environment, and what we defined was that the people who make the decision are not the people who are using his technology. So could you imagine the steps that needs to be taken to get to a decision? Now take that to a new market. What happens? How does it change? How does it pivot? This is why it's so critical to map all of this out, optimize it in your home market so that when you go into that new market, is like, can I take this process with me just to another market without too much change? Am I comfortable with? Is my core sales strategy there? Can I bring my testimonials with me? Can I leverage all of this? That's the key. If you don't have that as part of building out your framework, you're not ready.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where you and I come in, is we'll challenge a lot of the beliefs because we're not living in a little bit of a utopia. We're not living in oh, of course it's going to be great. No. We're coming in almost like cynics saying, no. Prove to me you can. Not, oh, of course we can. When you come in believing your own, you've drunk the Kool-Aid and you think, oh, it's all good, that's where you miss the mark. And that's why Jennifer and I are really hammering here in these podcasts, really every single day, validate, research, validate, test.
We
Because
don't know how and need professionals, and we're here.
right. And there are many different ways of doing it. And by the way, going to your clients and asking questions, you'll get an answer. But if a third party comes in, you'd be amazed sometimes about some of the answers you might get from that research. And that sometimes is pretty daunting. So before you go out and invest in training and in new markets and all that kind of stuff, let's get the foundation set up.
Yeah. And if you are like stuck with the foundation and or need validation from external professional eyes, and we welcome you to contact us.
Absolutely. And Jennifer, let me just wrap it up with this, because I want business owners to understand is that yes, we are putting a little bit of the fear of God in you, because the benefits at the end of the day when it's done right are so incredible. because the scalable growth that you're going to achieve, going into new markets, will open the doors to you to incredible opportunities, a better sustainability of your business, long-term revenue growth, much more resiliency. Your business might be might be much more attractive to buy. Eventually, you're going to see, you're going to be working on your business. So now it's a different way of running your company, and you'll have less of those stresses of the day to day. You're not going to have to worry about what toilet paper to buy. Someone else is going to worry about that while you're worrying about the bigger picture. And at the end of the day, Jennifer, imagine the financial freedom that you can get when it's done right. So if
Yes.
you're looking at the end game, the retirement, you're looking at your family today and say, wow, I wish I can go to Disneyland, or I wish I can go to Thailand. Wow, those opportunities can be made available to you if it's done right.
Yes. Thank you, David. So as we're wrapping up today's episode, do you have one last thing to say?
Look, I'm encouraging folks. I'm encouraging people. I know people are, and I don't know when you're listening to this podcast, but even today, I got someone said to me, I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait because, these tariffs, the uncertainty, global this, that. Take it from me. I was at a conference a few weeks ago, Jennifer, and someone said to me, every time I hear somebody waits, that's an opportunity for me to go in and take their market share away. So
Yes.
if you want to wait, someone's coming to eat your breakfast.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So that concludes today's episode. Thank you for tuning in. Until next time.
Take care, everybody. Good luck.
Bye-bye.
Bye.